Perhaps a little bit more of my own background. So I'm originally from Gujarat. My parents live in Ahmedabad, but we've lived in Los Angeles. So I was actually born in Los Angeles, in America, and my parents have lived there for the last 25 years. So I did my first master's in the States. This is actually my second master's. I did my first master's in Florida, and now I'm here for 9 months, and I'm applying for a PhD in religious studies currently. And what I'm interested in, my sort of field of studies, is I'm looking at the rise of Seva within Bhakti traditions in the 19th century. So I hope to write my PhD thesis on that. So the story of Vishva Mitra, if you read the Ramayana, it's actually in the Balakand of the Ramayana. I'm talking about Valmiki Ramayana. It's in the Balakand, so in the first book of the publication by Gita Press. And so Vishva Mitra, if you've read even a little bit of the Ramayana, you know that he's the one that sort of takes Ram and Lakshman under his arm to teach them. And to actually, he takes them to the forest to protect him and his yagna. And under his guidance, both Ram and Lakshman learn archery extremely well as under his guidance, Ram eventually weds Sita. So I'll tell you a bit about Vishwa Mitra's background, because that's really all most people know about Vishwa Mitra, that he sort of taught Ram. But he's actually a very important figure, and I think there's much to learn from his story. So Vishwa Mitra was originally a king. He wasn't a Rishi, although eventually he became one of the 8 foremost Rishis in Hindu theology or Hindu folklore. So Vishwa Mitra, he was originally a king, and his lineage comes from Brahma himself. So Brahma was his great-great-grandfather in this lineage. And so Vishwa Mitra, eventually he became the ruler, and his realm, if you think of Bharat, if you think of Bharat's realm, it included the whole entire earth. So Vishwa Mitra's whole realm, his whole Rajya, included the entire earth as well. So Vishwa Mitra, once he was traveling with his Sena, his army, and his Sena was massive, at least 200,000 soldiers within his army. So they were traveling, and as they were returning home after a world tour, they were returning home and they come to the hermitage, the ashram of Vashisht. And so Vashisht was a Rishi. He's a Brahma Rishi, which is the highest category of Rishi that you could attain. So he's this extremely spiritually enlightened being. And so they come to Vashisht ashram, 200,000 men, Vishwa Mitra, his 100 sons, they're all traveling together, and they come to this small hermitage. Now the hermitage was quite small, and because Vashisht is a yogi, he's a Rishi, so he lives a very simple lifestyle. But it was extremely beautiful. So you would have so many different kinds of animals, you have so many different kinds of plant life. The Gandharvas would be there, so they would be playing music. You'd have the Devs that are there. You'd have a number of Rishis that are doing tapasya. They're doing mantra jap. So you have a number of individuals that are coming there because it's extremely pavitra place. It's kind of like a tirth in a sense. And so it's extremely spiritually charged. And you have a number of animals there. You have these devs there. You have the Gandharvas there. And so Valmiki, he describes this ashram as a second Brahmalok. That's how beautiful it was. And so these 200,000 men and Vishwa Mitra, they arrive there, and immediately they go to meet Vashishta. So Vashishta, as soon as Vishwa Mitra meets him, he bows down to him, and he pays homage to Vashishta because he's this great Rishi. And so Vashishta, surprisingly, he invites these 200,000 men, well actually 200,101, if you count the sons of Vishwa Mitra, and he invites them to have dinner at his place. And so, oddly enough, Vishwa Mitra feels like he can't accept, right? Because here's this hermitage with nothing in it. There's no attendance. There's nobody to help Vashishta. How are you going to feed 200,000 people? And so, one time Vishwa Mitra says no. Then Vashishta keeps asking, please stay. Because it's very unlikely that Vishwa Mitra would ever come through again. So, finally, after Vashishta keeps asking him to stay, Vishwa Mitra agrees. But still in his mind, he's thinking, how are we going to get fed? So this Vishwa Mitra, he takes his sons and they go bathe in the nearby lake, and they return. And again, he's wondering, how are we going to be fed by this simple Rishi? And all of a sudden, Vashishta comes with hundreds of attendants. He comes with literally mountains of food. And this food is piled on plates of silver, plates of gold, and he's giving all of this food to Vishva Mitra and his army. And so, as soon as he sees this food, Vishva Mitra thinks to himself, where exactly did this food come from? But usually, as it's human nature, when we're hungry, we don't really tend to ask questions. We just start to eat. So Vishva Mitra and his army, they start to eat. And as soon as they're done eating, Vishva Mitra, he asks this question to Vashishta. How exactly did you provide food for all of us? Before when I came, I didn't see anyone else here to help you. I didn't see any of the silverware that you've given us. I didn't see any of the food material that you would need to make this. And so finally, Vashishta, he takes Vishva Mitra, he takes him behind his hut, and he shows him a cow. It looks like a normal cow. The name of this cow is actually, there's two alternative names. One is Shabala, and another is Nandini. And so Vashishta shows him the cow, and he says, whenever I want anything, I ask Nandini for it, and she'll give it to me. And so at first, Vishva Mitra doesn't believe him. So he asks for something, and immediately that object comes to him. And so Vishva Mitra, he thinks to himself that, I'm the king of the world. I should have this cow. Why would a Rushi need a cow like this? And so he offers Vashishta, I'll give you 100,000 cows. Just give me Nandini in exchange. So Vashishta says, no, there's no way I could give you this cow because I have a deep attachment to it, and it has a deep attachment for me as well. And it also helped me in all the yagnas, all the rituals that I do. It helped me in those rituals. So Vishva Mitra, he's the king of the world. He's never been told no. So he says, I'll offer you everything that I have. All the wealth that I have, all the possessions I have. I'll offer you my army. I'll give you everything. Again, Vashishta says, no. I don't want to do any exchange for Nandini. And so Vishva Mitra, he decides, I'm going to take Nandini. I don't care what you say. I'm going to take her by force, if need be. So he tells his army, take Nandini with us. We're leaving. So they take Nandini by force. And Nandini, as soon as she feels separation from Vashishta, she runs away. She breaks away from the army and she runs back to Vashishta. So at that time, Vashishta, he sort of compels her and he says, provide an army to defeat Vishva Mitra. So immediately, Vishva Mitra has 200,000 people in his army. Nandini provides 500,000. And so, in comparison to now Vashishta's army, Vishva Mitra's army is nothing. So they engage in this battle, and Vishva Mitra's entire army is wiped out. So after that, Vishva Mitra, he sends 100 sons, and he says, go win this battle for me. And Vashishta by himself destroys all 100 sons. So now Vishva Mitra is left with absolutely nothing. His progeny, his 100 sons are wiped out, they're killed. His entire army has been wiped out as well. And so, if you know a little bit about Hindu Shastras, this happens often. Whenever you want revenge, you go do tap. You go do tapasya. And so, Vishva Mitra here immediately runs to the Himalayas, and he starts doing tap to Shiv Bhagwan. And he's full of shame, he's full of anger, he's full of jealousy, and all he wants are the Divyastras to defeat Vashishta. So he's doing tap, and Shiv Bhagwan comes down because he's pleased with this stuff, and he gives him the Divyastras. And so he has these divine weapons, of which one is the Brahmastra, the most powerful weapon in any of the epics that can destroy the entire universe. So he comes with these weapons, and he immediately starts to unleash them on Vashishta's ashram. So soon, his whole ashram is sort of burned up. And finally, Vashishta, he comes out. And all he has with him is a staff. And he puts that staff up, and he slowly starts to absorb every single weapon that Vishva Mitra uses. So finally, Vishva Mitra, he decides to use a Brahmastra. And not only would that destroy Vashishta and his ashram, it would destroy the entire universe. But somehow, Vashishta, just with his staff, absorbs the power of the Brahmastra as well. And so finally, for Vishva Mitra, this is an all-time low. So he feels that, Vashishta is going to kill me now. I have no power to sort of stop him. But surprisingly, Vashishta, I told you again, that he's a Brahma Rishi, the highest level of Rishi that you could reach. And he has no desire for revenge. And so he just lets Vishva Mitra go. He forgives him. And finally, for the first time in Vishva Mitra's life, he starts to think, Vashishta had every right, he had every capability of destroying me, but he chose not to. And so he decides that I no longer want to be king. I don't even want to stay at Grahast. I want to renounce. And so he decides that I want to attain the same level of Rushi, Brahma Rushi, that Vashishta is at. So he gives up everything. I told you his Raja extended throughout the entire earth. He gives it all up and he retires to the Himalayas. So he starts doing tap. And when you do tap, essentially you attain a certain amount of merit. And because of that merit, you have a certain amount of Aishwarya. You have this power. So for a certain amount of time, Vishva Mitra, he does tapasya. And then while he's doing tap, another king comes to meet him. His name is Trishanku. So this king, Trishanku, is extremely ugly. His whole body is covered in boils. And so Vishva Mitra, he asks him, what happened to you? So Trishanku, before, he used to be actually extremely good looking king, very powerful, but he was extremely prideful. He had a lot of ego and man. So what he decided was, I'm so good looking that I want to go to Swarg in the same form that I am now. In my same body, I want to go to Swarg. So he goes to Vashishta and he asks him, can you help me get to Swarg in the same exact body because I'm so good looking? And Vashishta laughs at him. He says, that's impossible. You cannot go in the same humanly body to the heavens. And so after this, he goes to Vashishta's sons and he asks them, can you do this for me? And again, they laugh at him. So Trishanku gets mad and he curses both Vashishta and Vashishta's sons. So in turn, Vashishta's sons, because they're angry that Vashishta has been insulted, they curse him to be a Chandala, which is extremely ugly form. And that's why he has boils all over his body. So he comes to Vishva Mitra and he says, can you help me get to heaven in this body? And so Vishva Mitra says, yeah. At this point, he's attained a certain amount of merit, but he still has a lot of pride himself. So he says, yeah, I am more than powerful enough to put you in Indralok in your body as it is now. So he forces these Brahmins to have this yagna and to invite the gods to take Trishanku to the heavens. So the Brahmins come, they're forced to come, but when they perform the yagna, the devs don't come. They don't accept the offering and they deny Trishanku access. So Vishva Mitra, using his merit, he decides that I'm going to force him into the heavens by my own will. So slowly he starts to force Trishanku's body through air and into Indralok itself. So as soon as he gets to Indralok, Indra rejects him and throws him back down towards the earth. So as he's falling towards his death, Trishanku, he prays to Vishva Mitra and he asks him to save him. Again, just to give you an idea of how powerful Vishva Mitra was, he stops Trishanku in mid-air and he decides, if you don't want to accept him in the heavens, I'll make my own heavens. I'll make my own Indra, I'll make my own Brahma, and I'll put Trishanku in those heavens. And so when Indra hears this, he gets extremely scared and he says, fine, we'll take Trishanku in his body as he is now. And they take him. But the problem with using your powers for any Rushi is that you use up your merit. And so by keeping Trishanku in the air and by forcing him to go into Indralok, he used up all his merit from his stuff. So he had to start essentially from nothing again. So that this time he resolves, I'm going to be different, I'm not going to show my pride, and I'm not going to use the merit that I accrue. So finally he goes to a place called Pushkara, and he starts his tap. After a certain amount of time, Brahma comes down onto the earth and tells him, now you're a Rushi. So Rushi in the scale is the most bottom level that you could attain. And so he becomes a Rushi, and finally Indra, he decides, if Vishwa Mitra was that powerful when he wasn't even a Rushi, imagine if he becomes a Brahma Rushi, imagine how powerful he becomes. So he sends, which is quite common, he sends a woman to distract him. This woman's name, extremely beautiful woman, her name was Menkana. And so he sends her, and she distracts Vishwa Mitra immediately. For 10 years he remains distracted, and he remains married to this woman. And finally at the end of 10 years he realizes that, having this relation with this woman isn't going to bring anything. If anything, it's going to just detract from his mission to get to Brahma Rushi. So finally he leaves Menkara, and he retires to the Himalayas. For many, many years he does tap, and finally he attains the second level of Rushi, which is the Maharushi. And so he attains this level, And then he asks Brahma, when Brahma comes down, when will I be Brahma Rishi? And Brahma tells him, until you control your senses entirely, until you get rid of every single swabhav that you have, you can never be a Brahma Rishi. So again, he decides that no matter what it takes, I want to get to the level of Vashishta. I want to be a Brahma Rishi. So again, he starts his meditation. This time Indra again tries to distract him, and he sends a second woman. Her name is Ramba. Now Ramba, she's extremely scared because she knows Vishva Mitra's power, and she also knows that he's aware Indra is trying to distract him. So she's very scared, and then Indra tries to reassure her and says, I'll come with you down to the earth to distract him. So finally Ramba agrees. And as soon as she appears, Vishva Mitra knows that Indra is up to something. So what he does is he curses Ramba, and she turns to stone immediately. But the problem is that, again, it uses up his merit, the merit that he's been accruing. So again, he really has to start again from zero. So finally he decides that no matter what happens, I don't want to display anger, because if you want to reach Brahma Rishi, you have to control your senses entirely. That means no lust, no anger, no ego, none of those. So he decides that nothing is going to distract me from here on out. So finally, for 1,000 years, now again, you got to put this in perspective. If we're talking about the yugs, this is at the end of the Satya Yuga and sort of the beginning of the Treta Yuga. So your lifespans are hundreds of thousands of years rather than 100 years as it is for us. And so he does stop for 1,000 years, but this is so severe that he refuses to talk, he refuses to eat, and he stops breathing for 1,000 years. So this is extreme tapasya that he does. And finally, after 1,000 years, he controls his senses entirely. And Brahma comes down onto the earth and he tells him, now you've attained the level of Brahma Rishi. So fittingly, the end of the story is the first person to come embrace Vishva Mitra is actually Vashishta. So they embrace as brothers, as two equals that have attained this extremely high status as Brahma Rishis. And so, what exactly can you draw from the tale of Vishva Mitra? I guess any tale within our Shastras, within our epics, within our Purans, you could kind of take your own morals. But I take from the story of Vishva Mitra 3 morals, which I would like to share with you. The first one is, we all seek a truth. As Hindus, we seek a truth. We seek to reach a certain status. And that is closeness with Bhagwan, closeness with God, as well as a state where our mind is always peaceful. It's always tranquil, and we're never disturbed. We're all searching for that status, and we're all trying to strive towards it. But many times, what we may think as striving towards that goal is not actually the right path. And sometimes we need to have an experience that sort of jars us awake. It wakes us up. And that's what happened with Vishva Mitra, if you remember, that Vishva Mitra, he was defeated by Vashishta entirely. But Vashishta wasn't interested in revenge. And that's when Vishva Mitra understood that this path, as a ruler, I rule the entire world, but what have I really gained? I haven't gained anything. But if you look at Vashishta, he has a single cow. That's the only possession he has. And yet he's attained this level of Brahma Rishi. And for us it's the same. If I could give you an analogy. If you take a bottle of water and you fill it with, and you put a cup of dirt in there. At first, if you shake it together, you'll see that the water is extremely dirty. But if you leave that bottle there for the entire day, and you come back the next day, you'll see that dirt has all accumulated at the bottom of that bottle. And then if you cover that part of the bottle and you show it to somebody else, they would think it's clean water. It's absolutely clean and pristine. And many times what happens is we think we too are clean, we too are pristine. But when something shakes us up, when something jars us, we understand that we have this dirt within. That we actually have so much dirt within that we weren't aware of. And we have to get rid of that. And so the first thing that we learn is, at some point or another, probably all of us will have an experience that reminds us that we have a long, long way to go. Although we have that goal in mind. The second, which kind of plays on this, is that the road to that goal is extremely long. It might take us our entire lifetime. Vishva Mitra obviously meditated for 1,000 years. None of us are going to be able to meditate in one lifetime at least. Maybe we can come back repeatedly to meditate that long. But I don't think that's the point for us. We're not here to meditate. Everyone here is a householder, a grahast, and I doubt anyone will become a tyagi anytime soon. So what exactly should we do? And how exactly do we sort of progress towards that goal? Well, I guess a very simple way to put it is we show our progress by the choices we make every single day. As Hindus, and I'll give you a very practical example of mine. As a Hindu student, there's many choices I can make that show I am a Hindu. For example, my first master's I told you I did in Florida. It was the University of Florida, one of the top 5 party schools in the United States of America. Known around the U.S. for its parties that it conducts. And as a Hindu, I've never drank alcohol. So I am making an implicit choice every single day when my friend circle perhaps wants to go out and drink alcohol. To tell them no as a Hindu is a choice that I make. And really, your spiritual progress is decided by the choices that we make every single day. Whether we want to abide by the principles, it's very easy to say that we believe in something. But to live that same principle is very, very difficult. But it's something that we do, something that we grapple with every single day. And I think that shows, and that really measures how much progress we make every single day. And then the last one is, even though that path is extremely long and it doesn't seem attainable, what you gain at the end of it is more than whatever you gain in the rest of your life. And so Vishva Mitra, he may have had to fight off his urges to be married. He may have had to fight off his urges to even talk, to breathe, to eat. But at the end of it all, he attained the ultimate goal. And so I think that's just something we have to keep in mind, that despite how long that road may seem, what we gain at the end of it, our sort of closeness to Bhagwan, is the ultimate gain that we could achieve. Thank you.